This episode is brought to you by the Old Dominion Athletic Foundation. Because of you, we create winners in the classroom, in athletic competition, and in life. Become a member today.
Monarch Nation, welcome back. It is season 3, episode 1 of In the Lion's Den. Normally, we've got head coach Tennant McVea, but today we've got the whole entire crew. We're going to preview the 2026 season, talk about all kinds of fun stuff, introduce you to all the new fellas on the team. But first and foremost, Tennant, Josh, Nathan, welcome to the world's best and only ODU podcast.
Thanks for having us, guys. It's great to be back.
Great to have you guys. All right, so before we get into meeting all the new fellas, how much has changed around the program since we last sat down? Does it feel different? I know there's been a number of changes around the building, but how's it feel from the time that the season ended to where you guys are right now?
Yeah, it's been really busy. The springtime, there was a lot going on around here. Obviously, we had our spring season that was really successful this year. We actually had our first Commonwealth Cup. I'm going to give Nathan the credit here. This is kind of his brainchild, and he's run with this the last couple of years. But what we wanted to do was create a more competitive environment inside the state of Virginia for the teams that we compete against so that the guys could get a little bit more out of the spring. So Nathan did all the presentations, did everything, put it all together. And then the easy part for me was to go out and speak to the other coaches and get them involved. So it was our first iteration this year. And luckily, we were the champions, which was fantastic. And honestly, that addition in the springtime, I think, for all of the teams involved, just gave it that little bit of an extra edge. Fantastic to have that. Obviously, here in Norfolk, a little bit of a change in the building. We've got a new women's soccer staff, which has been fantastic. With Angie moving on, they brought in Will and some of his staff, and the relationship there that is growing between our staffs has been fantastic. We're putting our heads together on a lot of stuff. We got a new recovery room for the girls and the guys that's in motion right now. We had some floors laid. We got new painting done. We've got an old referee's locker room underneath the stadium. So when you guys are over next, we'll bring you in and show you it. But just a dedicated space for recovery for the student athletes on both sides of the building. And it's a fantastic addition with regards to not just the player welfare, but also, in recruiting, it's just gives us a little bit of an edge. It's been busy. We've had a lot going on. We've also enjoyed the World Cup this summer. I think some of us more than others. I'm talking about Josh Spencer. He followed England around and we barely saw him this summer. So he had a good one, but it's been great and a good 6 months for soccer all around.
All right, Josh. Obviously, we got to talk about your World Cup trip before we move on to the team. But tell us what your highlight of the trip was.
I don't even know where to start on that. I think I've fallen in love with the city of Dallas, both via recruiting at the end of last semester and then obviously watching England's opening game there. So I'd have to say it's probably the pinnacle of the World Cup was actually the opening game, because obviously we won the game. But it was the special thing for all of the matches that I did go to was just seeing kind of familiar faces, people that we work with, people that we see on the road when we go recruiting. But ultimately it was a living here now and obviously being in the States, but being from England, it was a chance to kind of have home come to us for a month or a month and a half. And financially, it probably wasn't the most responsible month and a half of my life, but I wouldn't do any of it any differently. So yeah, the whole experience, that I went to 4 games, 2 group games, 2 knockout games, obviously saw us win until we didn't. But yeah, amazing experience. And I think from a football perspective, standalone, the soccer side of things, the tournament was one of the best that we've seen to date. So it was pretty special to be able to witness it in person as well. Which, don't get me wrong, I've been stitched up here. These two did go to a game themselves as well, but I just went to a couple more.
All right, one more thing before we get hot and heavy into introducing the new fellas that are here in Norfolk. For the folks who might be tuning into this show for the first time, Tennant, can you guys describe, there's a lot of work that goes into what y'all do. And there's 3 of you to do a ton of work. But can you kind of explain who does what, how you guys operate as a staff?
Yeah, look, I'll speak to that. Obviously, it was really important for me when I, took over this job that I had people around me that made me better, in multiple different ways. And I would say we're pretty unique in that all of us touch every single part of the program. But I think the unique thing then within that is that all of us have our strengths, all of us have our weaknesses. And I think we complement each other in such a good way. We're also the best of friends, which I think is something that's truly special in what we do. So for me, as the head coach, and looking at responsibilities, I have to be really aware of what other people's strengths and weaknesses are, and place them in positions to be successful. Now, you said it's just the three of us, but obviously we do have great support staff as well. Maddie's, our director of ops, we've brought on sort of more full time this year. And then one of our former players, Paul Sirac, has joined us as an elite performance coach, and data analyst. So he's, taking care of a lot of that stuff. So those types of things, Matty on that side, taking away sort of the operation side of things from Nathan. And I must say, Nathan has his fingers in everything at this program. Sometimes, by his own design, but he had a lot on his plate, and bringing in, people like Matty and like Paul takes a lot of that sort of day to day off of his hands. But he's kind of like my Swiss Army knife, and he is good at everything that I am not good at. And I think that for me as a head coach, that is the best decision that I ever made, was to bring him to this program, because he makes me better every day. And then on the other side of things, with Josh, I knew that I needed to take a step back, from the day-to-day coaching of the team, something that I had done for well over a decade. And not that I get sick of it or anything like that. I love being on the field. I love my voice being heard. I love the talk, all that type of stuff. But I knew that I couldn't be that constant voice. And having somebody that I trusted to come in and help, me and Nathan be able to put the football into place was extremely important. So I think we're very unique in that we all pitch into everything that we do. I don't make any decisions without the two of their approval or their opinion, and I think that's important. But it's really a team effort, and the five of us, I'm hoping this season can really work hard together, and come together to make sure that the product that we're putting out is the best available.
All right, so you mentioned it. I'm a data nerd. Aaron's a data nerd. I'd love to hear what kind of data you have Paul collecting and organizing, and then how you guys best use that information.
Boys, why don't you take that?
Yeah, I can jump on that. I mean, predominantly his world is obviously sports science. He's doing his PhD here at the college. So it's predominantly, as of right now, with respect to load. So load management every day, letting us know who we need to potentially keep a closer eye on, who maybe needs to do a little bit less in a session, who could benefit from a slightly more extended period of recovery, or whatever it might be. As the season goes, it will then start to become a little bit more performance specific. I don't think, sorry to disappoint maybe on this one, that we're going to be absolutely data obsessed in terms of the performance kind of side of things. However, there will be specific metrics that will be important to us that can basically be an indicator of work rate and the things that are important to kind of our identity as a team. And they will be, high intensity sprints. If we're asking our team to press the football at times, then their expectation will be that our players at the kind of front end of the pitch will be have more or a higher number of high intensity moments than players at a deeper level, etc., etc. So yeah, I think as the season gets going, to be honest, we've got a brilliant new system, so we're going to continue to kind of get into the weeds of exactly how we want to use it. But like T said, having Paul, who is doing his PhD in human performance, I mean, he couldn't really ask for a better fit for us as a program to sort of think outside the box and get more help where we need it.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and preview the squad. We'll get through that, and then we'll see where else the conversation takes us. So I'm going to try something new here. Let's see if I don't mess it up. We have, there we go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm actually on the wrong slide. So look, everyone just got a backwards preview of who we're going to go. But we're going to start off with Diego.
Yeah, just before we kick off here, I think one of the really important things, this is a real team effort in terms of, this is another big class. Not by design. Nathan takes the lead on making sure that we are as organized as possible when it comes to recruiting, as a coordinator of all of those things. And he is an integral part of making sure that we're identifying and bringing in the right types of players. It's really got to the nice stage of my career where I don't have to pound the pavement as much. So I have to give him credit for the body of work that he's put in over the year to get us to this point. It's a fantastic class, and I'm really excited for the guys to be able to tell everybody about this new class of players, because we're very, very happy with them. Okay, you can kick it off with Diego.
Yeah, so Diego, obviously goalkeeper. We were in the market for a goalkeeper. Michael Statham, obviously one of the program's best, graduated for us. Played a lot of minutes, made a lot of saves for us. So it was a hole we needed to fill. We've brought Diego in. Diego's a NAIA transfer from Bethel University in Tennessee. Big, 6'5", good ball striker. A little bit older, so he's been around the block a bit, and we're excited to add him to Logan and Alex, who are already here in the program, who both had really good springs as well. So we've got a really good core of goalkeepers, and I think it's going to be a really, really good battle this next couple of weeks in preseason to figure out who's going to be the number one to start us off against UW.
All right, what you got for Mr. Capril?
Well, this is Jacopo. He's an Italian defender that we brought in mid-year from Eastern Florida, junior college down in Florida. Traditionally very strong one. And, I've got to give the boys credit. They were down in Daytona, watching the games down there. And Jacopo was somebody that I think stood out to them immediately, just with some of the intangible things that he brings. And he's been a fantastic character. He came in the springtime, took a little bit of an injury. He's back now, fully fit, and is looking great in preseason. But high character, great defender, tough as all can be, and really, think he can make an impact this year. You're gonna have to start calling these out, guys, because
I am. They're probably really small for you. So you guys going to joke on me when I say names. So we got Ludovico. Did I say it right?
Ludovico. Josh, you kick this one off because you're the Italian connection.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a little bit of a theme with this as well if we went deeper on it. But a lot of these guys have come from places that we know and people that we know, and that was an important part of and always will be an important part of how we recruit. But yeah, I mean, Ludovico he's actually a former teammate of Lewis Rourke, who obviously was our top goal scorer last year. So we saw a lot of him in his first year, obviously watching Lewis, keeping an eye on him. He led the country, I thought, or at least was second in the country or top 3 in that first year for assists as a left back. So obviously gives a bit of an indicator in terms of the positives he can give from an attacking perspective as well as a defender, which is going to give us in terms of the profile of our team, will be something that will be very, very important to us. But again, he's started to really grow in terms of his personality with the team. The guys like him. He joined us again in the spring, so he's had 6 months plus with us now in terms of training time and contact time. So yeah, he's a good lad. He's a very gifted footballer, and he's also been very coachable in terms of from the start of the semester to the end of the semester and then onwards in terms of taking on board how we do things slightly differently to where he'd come from before. So yeah, junior college transfer and a very talented left back.
Next up, David Chapman.
We might, I think maybe we hit 3 of these at the same time so that we can maybe skip over a couple. Why don't you do that, Josh, and talk about the boys that we've brought in for Nottingham?
Yeah, so we've brought in David Chapman, Hugh Dawson, and Matthew Moffat, all from the same team. They're all grad transfers. We again, obviously had a couple of players in important positions graduate last year. Evan Watt, obviously at centre half, is now a professional footballer. So David Chapman is a centre back. He's big. He's a good profile, and again, he's the most important piece of which all 3 of these players have come from someone that I've known for a very, very long time and that there's real trust with, somebody that actually I'd played for back in the day. And it was a unique how it came about. And this is, again, where we talk about no stone unturned to an extent. We were actually watching a different player. Nathan and I were on a plane watching a different game. And David actually was the player that then stood out for the opposite team. And whilst we were on the plane Wi-Fi, slowly trying to search different things, was when I actually stumbled across a photo of the coach that I used to play for, right in the middle of them celebrating winning the league championship. So I thought, hold on a minute, there's a way in here. Let's see what we can find out. He then couldn't have spoken highly enough about all three of the guys that we've got, which again was a great character reference. And again, in terms of obviously what we are hoping to do down the line with the program, all three of these guys won the national championship last year in university football back in England. So they're winners. They kind of know what it takes to win. And again, they're experienced. So adding to a young, talented group, 3 experienced players that I think will be great for off the field as well as on the field for the program.
So I got a follow up to. I'm just interested. University of Nottingham, England college sports.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the difference in level of play
Well,
versus like American college soccer, but also like the clubs that are below like the. Because you have the junior developmental system, right?
Yeah. So these guys would have been, along with playing in the university system, college system. Depending on which team you're at or which university you're at, is, to be honest, how seriously it's taken. They operate in what's called the Bucks First Division. So the colleges all in that realm have very good facilities, take it very seriously, and ultimately play at a high level. What they don't do the same way as over here is those programs won't train as often or as regularly, and they won't get the crowds that potentially that you can get over here. And what these guys then will do though is they will play what's called non-league football. So they'll be playing games, and it will depend on who, obviously, and timelines, etc. But there's different ways to obviously play at a high level back at home, and all these guys have had different paths to get to where they are. But yeah, I think the biggest difference really between the university system in terms of the sports side of things, the athletic side, compared to here, is these guys were blown away when they arrived and saw the facilities. And that's not a knock on the University of Nottingham or anywhere else they've played. But we were the same when we got off the plane. When you arrive at certain places and certain environments, it blows you away what is actually at our disposal here. And they're going to benefit from that massively, taking the step to come across here. And I think that was a big pull for them to want to make the move themselves.
All right. Next up, we've got Noah.
Yeah, you took the lead on this one, so.
Yeah, Noah, German centre half, joining us. Another hole that we were, needed to fill. So, really good profile, 6'4", right-sided centre back. Good character. Went through another trusted contact that we have, in Germany, that Tennant has recruited players from before. I think it'd been a couple of years. We had Nick as the last German player that played for us, Nick Ozigus. But, we're excited to bring Noah in. Noah actually also used to play against Max Vishrai, former player as well. So he was another good reference about Noah. Max was a striker for the program a few years ago, scored a lot of goals, and he had actually came up against Noah in games last year. And I know he spoke to Tennant and was like, really good pickup for us. He had a tough time dealing with him. So, we're excited about him.
All right. I think he was in the last crew, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So next, George.
Georgie's another, addition in the springtime. A little bit of a tie there with Nathan again, because he played in the Welsh Premier League, for Flint before he came across the States, originally from Liverpool in England. George is an extremely tall attacking player, great range, runs really well. And we're really, really happy that we brought George here in the springtime, because George was one of those players where there was a little bit of an adjustment period in terms of what the game he was used to playing in England was like to what we're playing here in college soccer. So that little bit, those 5 or 6 games that he was able to pick up in the springtime were so beneficial for his development. And to be really fair to him, he's come back in preseason, and these first couple of days, he's taken a step forward. So that's great to see. And that's why bringing some of these guys in the spring, to give them that extra semester to get used to the environment here, how not just on the field things are different, but how the lifestyle can be different. And he really benefited from that. So we're really excited for George to make an impact this season.
You mentioned the Commonwealth Cup a couple times. Have we set that up for next year and try to build that to be bigger?
Yeah, we're in the process. Obviously, everyone's attention is a little bit elsewhere right now. We've got the final sort of, the date for that sort of set in. There was a lot of learning lessons last year and everything that we did, but I do think that there's a really viable product there that we can continue to grow, whether that be in terms of the numbers of teams that are involved. For me, if we can get everybody in Virginia, now that's not going to happen, but the majority of teams, bought into what we're doing so that we can make it as competitive as possible. I think it adds so much in the springtime, when we're in that development period, because it gives you games that there's actually something on the line for, instead of just playing meaningless matches that don't go towards anything. So it's a really interesting concept. And I really think that the guys that were involved in it in the springtime got a lot out of it. And I'm hoping that we still have the same support from other programs, like we did last year.
All right, out of New City, New York, Mr. Zivkovic.
Oh, Melee. Melee was the first signing in this class. All three of us, but we were in Maryland the first time I think we saw Melee play. He comes from the Cedar Stars program up in New Jersey, New York, and then was at World Class, the last couple of months. So came through both of those programs. Another big striker, when you see us this year, obviously Nathan said it today. It's like, we obviously had we've got something in mind when we look at strikers. He's got a great frame, 6'2", 6'3", plus, built really well. So he's a really exciting prospect. He started preseason really well. We're excited about him, but was somebody that when all three of us saw him originally, we were all like, we got to go here for this kid. And I think we made the right decision going early, and getting that over the line. So really happy to have Melee with us. I think he's got a really high ceiling.
One thing I'm noticing is it seems like you guys have brought in some significant size. Does that have to go with the style of play in the Sun Belt? Is something that, over the last couple seasons you've figured out that it's something that's gonna lead to more success for you guys?
Yeah, I think there's different horses for different courses, as the old saying, and you can't be all big and you can't be all small. But I do think for the three of us and the way that we envisage or we think about the game and what's important to us, having size and athleticism is something that's important. So definitely as we're going through the process, we have these, attributes and characteristics that we want in players. Some of them are, emotional, some of them are about their character. But others are about their physicality. And there's no doubt that college soccer is an extremely physical game. So when we're going to look at these players, there are some boxes that we have to tick. And it is no accident that we do, make sure that the physical attributes that we're looking for are sort of matched. Obviously, there's the outliers, and there are guys who we feel like can actually do the job that we need that maybe not always meet those characteristics. But I will say we are big.
Aaron, I
Because
think that's a
my
good
memory's not that
question
good.
because we watched that Kentucky game last year, and that team was huge. You could it was the first time I ever read this doesn't look like a college soccer team. So
Yeah.
it seems like that will
Yeah,
be very different. That matchup will be very different this year if they do play on the field.
Yeah.
yeah. That one guy reminded us of a football player. The guy, one of our linebackers.
Nate, what was the lad's name? The big German lad.
Oh
He's
man,
back this year. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name, but yeah, plays centre half. So
good deal. Now, okay, I can't remember. Did we already go over? You got a number of guys from England. Okay, we did not talk about Mr. Page yet.
No. Ben, I think that's going to be all you.
Yeah, so Fraser's one that kind of saw for the first time last Christmas time. Again, there's an echo somewhere in here. It's from someone that we trust, have a good relationship with. But saw him in person for the first time in just prior to Christmas, and then Nath actually then took a trip and saw him again. I think March time of last semester as well. Again, you talk about the things that are important to us, and Fraser isn't one of the 6'2", 3, 4 guys, but Fraser is someone who works extremely hard already in the first kind of couple of days as somebody that takes information on board and is showing signs of obviously being coachable that way. And then on the physical side, though, is very, very quick. So he's someone that has experience again playing in we touched on it a couple of times, playing non-league football, and what that is obviously kind of men's football, I get one of a better phrase, from a very young age. He's gone a slightly unique path in terms of not being in one of the big name academies as a youngster back at home, but a lot of what that teaches you are things that we like. So yeah, Fraser is attacking as a winger or as a striker. He's got an eye for goal, and he likes to put the ball in the box. He likes to flash the ball across goal. He wants to work the goalkeeper, and they're things that again are going to be important for us both immediately, but also throughout the rest of his career as he continues to develop with us.
All right, next up, Jason Perks.
Oh, I'm not doing Perksy.
I guess we could all go a bit on Perksy. Perksy is one of the best people in the world. He is someone again that I was lucky enough to have coached a couple of summers back now in summer league, and his head coach moved on. He entered the transfer portal. We're not a team that or a coaching staff that is obsessed with the transfer portal, but when certain people and players show up, then it's a no-brainer for us. And he was one of them. He is again was someone that was with us in the spring. He's a winger. He's an extremely talented footballer, but he's also a phenomenal person. And a lot of people would probably say he's one of their favorite people in the locker room. So he's funny, and along with being a very good football player. So yeah, we all love Perksy.
All right, out of Far Hills, New Jersey, Jacob Marquez.
Nate, you want to take this one?
Yeah, another one that obviously is through a connection through someone that Josh knows up at SDA. Jacob, me and Josh spent a lot of time watching him this spring. We've got another player coming in the class of 27 from Jacob's team, which so we've got a little pipeline going there, and we're really excited about him. Really high character human being, really good left foot, plays left back. He's got a really high ceiling, I think, in college soccer, and he's one that we expect to develop over the next couple of years, and we're excited about what he can do moving forward.
All right, we got Matthew Moffat. Was he one of the England guys you're talking
We did
about
cover
already?
Matt.
Yeah,
Okay.
we cover him off. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I got to write things down. I don't remember these things so well anymore. All right. You guys went into my neck of the woods where I spent a bunch of time up in Fredericksburg, Virginia to grab Logan. Let's talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, look, we were me and Nino were counting last night. Logan is a VDA boy, the Virginia Development Academy. So we have several players in the group right now that have come through there. O2 Basong, in the class of last year. Barrett Saul and Nino both played with that group as well. I could be missing some guys in that, but a program that is run by actually somebody who I played USL2 with when it was called PDL back in the day, Matt Lacey. Matt has done a fantastic job building that club and surrounding himself with good people. And over the years, they've been pumping out some great players. So obviously, again, we've talked about this at length on the podcast, like winning the state and getting good kids in Virginia is extremely important to us. Logan is another one of those young men who's extremely high character, a fantastic student, a fantastic attitude. We've likened him, one of our favorite players of all time that has come through the program, Owen Ruddy. A Virginia Beach boy who I've known since he was 10 years of age. Logan is the kind of new Owen for us in terms of his attitude, and he'd run through a brick wall for you. And he's a kid that we think, moving forward is going to be important for the program, for our culture. And he's really been he's been great this week so far in training. So great to get another Virginia boy into the program and feel really good about him.
All right. Next, you sold the warmer weather going up to Minnesota. Let's talk about Mr. Morris.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I can take Zion. Yeah, Zion. Someone that we watched a lot in depth as well. He played at the Blackrock boarding school. They've got a bunch of different, locations. So Zion came through that program, which is a real high level, like high school type program that, they have full-time training year round. Zion, great kid. Zion actually came to a camp as well. So he came to ID camp. So we got to see him in our environment last year, and someone that we, spent a lot of time watching. I watched him a couple of times in Richmond play when he came down to play in the Jeff Cup, and then he played in another event down here. And really excited about him. He's got profile-wise at centre back for us, athletic, good in the air, good on the ball, and someone that we think has a high ceiling and that can really develop over the next couple of years in learning from two big brute centre halves in Josh and T. So hopefully keep the centre back factory going, right?
Last but not least, go out to Denver, Colorado for Max Graff.
Yeah, Max was a late addition. We sort of had a little bit of a need in the middle of the park, sort of later on with a little bit of a depth. Max was somebody that had been on our radar for a little bit. A really neat central midfield player, maybe not always matching, some of the characteristics. Again, one of those outliers. Maybe not always what we were looking for exactly in that moment. But what we got from Max was that even though he's not the biggest guy in the whole world, he's got a massive heart. And he plays like that, and that's been really clear to see in these first few days. So we brought him in, on campus, flew him in from Colorado. He had a great visit here, loved the campus. And his infectiousness, about our program and what we were trying to do, and how he saw himself fit into that, like really appealed to us. So, Max was a no-brainer in that respect. And I think, he's going to really probably exceed expectations, moving forward. So a great kid. He's been great in the locker room so far. He's settling in really well. And obviously, Colorado's not somewhere that we've exclusively recruited from before. But hopefully, it opens up the door and we can have a great experience with him and maybe opens up doors for us moving forward. But really glad to have him.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the returners, the schedule, and a bunch more. We'll see everybody in about 25 seconds.
Monarch Nation, it's time to roar and pour. Join us on August 22nd for an evening of unlimited beer sampling, live music, and all things ODU at SB Ballard Stadium. Visit odusports.com for more details. We will see you there. Go Monarchs!
I do want to make another push for the Roar and Pour because it benefits both ODAF, Monarchs Plus, but also our friends at the CVBA, which is run by our friend Josh at Afterglow. It's going to be a great event. It was an awesome event last year, and I think it's going to be even better in year two. If you are a member of Monarchs Plus, you get a significant discount or maybe even free tickets. So check your emails. Come to the Roar and Pour. But back to the soccer. So obviously the spring and the summer is a good time for your returners to develop and continue getting better. Is there anyone standing out to you that's just is going to make a jump that's going to surprise people?
That's a great question. Look, we have a plan, every summer, and Josh has been able to clue us in here. Josh is really good with some of this, the strength and conditioning aspect. He's worked in that professionally before. So, we steal off other programs in different places. And luckily we have access to some really high level programming for the summertime for our players. Some of the guys have been off playing, in different places across the country. In USL2. So everyone's summer experience is a little bit different, in terms of what they're doing. We've also had some guys that are coming off some injuries. So it's been nice to really get them back into the fold and get them fit and healthy. So it's a unique time of the year because everyone's doing something a little bit different. But it's a great group of returners. We talked about this, last year. In the springtime, we took a lot of steps forward with the group that we have. It was a young group, but a group that was willing to learn, a group that we were willing to grow with. And I think it was a fantastic learning experience for them and for us, both sides of the ball. And it would be really unfair of me to pick out people because I really do feel like everybody's moved forward. And that's not normal. Everyone's taken that step. No one's come back and we're going, oh, he's regressed, because that happens all the time. So that's a credit to the players. I think it's a credit to the culture that we as a staff have been able to create. I'm really excited for some of these returning guys to kick on, to get better, to be more productive even than they were last year. And I think that's a really special thing, and it's a special place for our program to be in.
So I know that you guys have been grabbing the pieces. Everything's very purposeful. So you obviously have something that you're driving at. So last year, lots and lots of close games. I don't even remember how many, but it seemed like every single contest was close. So with what you guys have put together, what's the vision? If someone asks you what should ODU soccer look and feel like from people watching from the stands, what's the vision of where you want it to be this year?
I think we want to be winners. That's what this program is. It is traditionally been a winning program. I mean, that's where we need to get back to. We got to win more games than we lose. We got to win more games than we tie. I don't think any of the three of us would sit here and go, we are going to go out and win the conference this year. We're still building through this and making sure that we are set up for long-term success. But we want to be extremely competitive at that. So how can we start knocking off some of these big teams that, like we've talked about at length, that, have all the bells and whistles? How can we go out and make sure that we are taking the results that we deserve against them? And then ultimately, if you can do that consistently, we're going to make the NCAA tournament. The Sun Belt is one of the strongest leagues in the country. Without needing to win the conference tournament, we can put ourselves in a position with our scheduling, with everything that we're doing. And if we're consistently winning during the year, we're going to put ourselves in that national picture so that at the end of the day, we get a chance to dance. So I think for us, it's how can we find that consistency early on in the season? We didn't have that consistency last year. And then, like you talked about, we have all of these type games and all of these opportunities that are all on a knife edge. How do we continue to push the button so that we come out on the right end of them more times than we don't? And I think that is where the biggest change needs to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, but we will be way more competitive again this season. And that's been the trend in the last 3 years. We get better and we're going to keep getting better.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The team definitely took a jump last season. We saw it, but there was a stretch of weird play in the middle, right? How do you prepare your team to kind of avoid those lulls or bounce back faster moving forward?
But, I think I have to take a lot of that responsibility on, as the head coach, in our preparation. I've got this great support staff around me, and I talked about this to the lads last year. Like, I think I lost myself a little bit as we started, last season. And then it took us time, to readjust to what we're doing. I think we are more concrete and set on the direction that we're going in and the way that we want to do it, better than we have been, in the past few years. So I think our consistent messaging, the consistent support of the staff, is going to be important, and getting these guys off to a good start. And also letting them know that it's not linear. There's going to be these peaks and troughs during the season, and we can't allow the highs to be too high, the lows to be too low. We really have to take it in our stride. It's just something that we got to roll with. And I feel like I need to be better, and I need to make sure that I'm taking responsibility to make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction when the chips are down.
Mike, I was just thinking about this with all the close games. We just saw this in 23 and 24 with football. Had like 20 games that were one score games. One year, I think 6-5, the other year 3-6. And then last year, something clicked.
Yep.
And that third year after. So perhaps we're seeing the same thing where you look at, hey, you're on that knife edge. What gets you over? And all of a sudden that thing starts to click.
Yep. That's the hope.
All right. So a couple minutes ago, we talked about how, the Sun Belt is. Tennant, you were just talking about how good of a conference the Sun Belt is. It really is a gauntlet. So let's talk about the schedule a little bit. Fortunately, a bunch of home games this year, lots of opportunities for Monarch Nation to get out, to see the crew. And so let's start off at the beginning. When do people have the first opportunity to check out the team? And then let's kind of go through a little bit on the high points of the schedule.
Yeah, next Friday, 4 p.m. So, if you get an early release from work, or the kids aren't back in school and they don't have daycare, ship them over here. Kids get in free. We're playing, well, everyone gets in free to the exhibition. So we're playing American University, great team out of DC, very historical, good side. I think it's going to be a really good test, here in front of the fans. So, hoping that we can get some people to come out and watch, really our dress rehearsal before the season kicks off, and any tweaks that we need to be making, we're going to be looking to be doing in that game. So great preseason exhibition for us here at home next Friday, to kick off the home slate.
We were talking before the show about some new changes coming to soccer, and one of them is the challenge. So talk to us about how that's going to work this season. and what fans can expect to look out for when it's time for you to challenge.
All right, so everyone will do our references. We got our NFL flags. That coaches can use. In the game. The NCAA and the committee have decided this year, because our games were getting so long with the introduction of VAR. There was so many requests for it. It was taking too long. They wanted to streamline things a little bit. So they've given each coach 2 opportunities within the game for certain aspects of the game, and I won't list them, but big things. It was a goal. Should it be allowed? Was there a foul on a goal? Was someone offside in a goal scoring opportunity? Those types of things can be challenged. And I then have to stand on my feet and wiggle my finger in a circular motion and shout at a referee to let him know that I would like to challenge it. Fantastic. It is what it is. This is the 21st century. Everyone's watching the Premier League and wants to replicate what we're doing. Sadly, not all of the time can we do that because, look, guys, we've got great infrastructure here and we've got stuff on the sidelines, for the Speedio to re-look at things, but it doesn't always work. But we're going to have that opportunity. There was teething problems with the introduction of VAR. There's going to be teething problems with this whole challenge situation. So I'll be really interested to see how it pans out, and does it actually shorten the halves of games anyway? We're not 100% sure, but I know for a fact that these 2 will be sitting poking me on the shoulder when they see something, to get me on my feet, to twiddle my finger around. So it'll be interesting, and we had a little meeting with the guys about it today. I think if we're prepared, they're prepared, everyone knows what the score is, we should be fine. But my stance on all of this. I would wish VAR wasn't a thing at our level of football, but it is. So we've got to get on with it.
I would
All
note
right.
that the games never seemed like they were that long.
It's because you were having that much fun.
I mean, but you watch these World Cup games where they're standing around arguing about yellow and red cards, or trying to get, and they're arguing for like 10, 15 minutes.
It's become endemic across the sport. And the more that you let these electronic things interfere with things, I think the more harm it does the game. We talk about purists in soccer, where it's like the game is the game and it's flawed. People make mistakes, players make mistakes, referees make mistakes. It's why it's the greatest game in the whole world. So I understand that at the top level, there's millions and billions of dollars, on the line in the Champions League and at the World Cup and all that. But in reality, at the level that we're playing at, there's a teaching aspect to it. We're in a development environment. Things go wrong. We have to teach these young men that something's not always going to come to your rescue, and people are flawed, and things are going to happen that, you just got to live with. That's just been something that's been instilled in us, as players as we grew up. And it's been lost in the game now. I could sit here and talk all night about, the rights and wrongs in it, but I do think it is to the detriment of the sport.
So with 2 challenges, have you considered like what situations you're going to have to call those in? Because you can't run out, right?
No,
you can run out.
They give us a list, and there's going to be certain things. Like, we've all been in this game for a long time. There's going to be certain things that we see, that we're going to have to question. And again, this is going to be a learning curve for us. Is this something we want to waste the challenge on? Is there going to be something else in the game? I think the major ones, like, if you do concede a goal and there's a chance that the opposition's offside, you got to look at those types of things. But I just don't know. Like I said, we've got this list of things that we can challenge. We're probably going to have to figure out which ones are most important to us. But it is going to be a really unique situation, and we're just going to have to figure it out as we go. But I've told the guys, I don't need you all the time telling me what I should be challenging. We as a staff have to come together and make those types of decisions because, like you said, you're limited in the number of times that you can do it. And the referees now, the onus is taken off them. So they're not going to challenge anything because now they want us to use our ability to challenge things.
So, Tennant, you went where I was about to ask the question. I was going to say, like, who's the unofficial replay advisor to Tennant? Sounds like it's a team effort here, but how quickly does this have to happen? So,
well, this is a really interesting insight. Like when you look at what we do on the sideline, and it's probably going to actually change a little bit this year. For me, I want to be able to sit down and watch the game a little bit more. So the way that we kind of structure things, on the bench, when we have the last couple of years, is Josh will typically be the coach that is on his feet. That is maybe shouting instruction or helping people out, with certain things on the field. Me and Nathan will be sat down together for the most part. Doesn't always happen like that. One of us is always typically getting itchy and needing to get onto our feet. But Nathan will be sitting beside me with an iPad. And on that iPad, he has the ability then to quickly go back and look at things, in the game. We have used that all the time for an analytical purpose. Like, where are we getting things wrong? We get a different picture than we're seeing on the sideline. So it gives me and Nathan the opportunity to have conversations, to look at things, to make decisions together, while Josh still has that eye on the game and is making sure that as that's going on and we're trying to get to something that, we're covering all of our bases. But Nathan's role there, is going to become important, I think, as well moving forward, because in these types of situations, I'm gonna be looking at him and saying, "Hey, what do you think? Is this worth it? Do we need to go there?" And because he's looking at it in the screen, that's what the referees are going to see. So, are we going to get the angle? Are we going to be able to see, if it's going to be a positive for us? Because you might not have the angle to actually make it clear and obvious that the decision is wrong. So I think between the two of us sitting there and sort of analyzing it as we go, we're going to have to work together to make sure that we make that decision well.
All right, keeping on this rules kick, I don't know if I'm reading this right, but if it is, I like it. This new 8-second goalkeeper rule, this
Yep.
going into effect this year. All right, let's talk about
this is all Nathan. This is all Nathan. The resident
like
goalkeeper. He's the expert, so I'm going to let him take this.
Yeah, it's obviously mirroring professional soccer now, right? We're mirroring the professional game. So the 8-second rule, it's to slow down the time wasting, right? As I made a career in it of time wasting, trying to slow the game down, trying to break play up. So we have all these bunch of different rules that we're now implementing to try and speed the game up. The VAR, the really trivial one, but we're introducing 9 balls around the field. That's the new number that every team has to provide. So that's going to speed it up. And the 8 seconds with the goalkeepers, that's the plan as well. But it also, it adds a little different element to the game as well, where in the past, we spoke about this with the team before, is in the past, keeper has the ball in the hands. It used to be 6 seconds was the rule. More like 60 seconds was what it became. Keepers were taking a while and gave your team the chance to set up and step up the field and, take your time, and it really became a mini break in the game. But now that can't happen. So, we've had to talk, especially with the back four. They're going to have to get up the pitch a lot quicker, and it's going to definitely improve the speed of play for sure.
Here's a question that might sound a little goofy, but I'm thinking about football. Each team is using their own balls. So, like ODU is sponsored by Under Armour. They're using an Under Armour football. They might be playing Marshall, who's a Nike school, who's using a Nike football. Are the soccers in college soccer universal, or does each team have like a different brand they use?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So again, based off sponsorship, if you're an Adidas school, you probably have an Adidas ball that you're using. Under Armour used to make soccer balls. They don't anymore. So it was one of those things in their product line that they were like, we don't make this either well enough or we don't sell enough to keep them on. So we actually then, at our discretion, use other balls. We're not allowed to use the other big brands, which is fine. But what we have made the choice to use is the ball that they actually use in the NCAA tournament. So what is that brand, Nathan?
Wilson.
Yeah. So we use the Wilson ball. We could go Mitre, we could go to some different brands, but we use the Wilsons. And yes, to your point, each ball is very unique, and none are made the same. So I would characterize the Wilson balls as being a little bit lighter. A Mitre ball is going to be a little bit heavier. The Adidas balls are going to move all over the place because that's the way that they make their ball. So it's a unique thing. And one of the rules is, before the game, if you are playing whatever ball that you're playing with, when a team comes here, we have to give them, I think, 2 or 3 game balls so that they can warm up with them before the game starts. Same thing. If we go on the road and we're playing against a team with a night ball, then we'll get 2 or 3 game balls, to use within our warm up. It becomes a little bit of a fight between the goalkeepers and the field players, who gets to use those. We're basically sharing, one. So the guys will be running across the field in the middle of warm up to try and get the game ball that they're going to use. But yes, there is a difference. It's not major, and some guys think about it, more than others. But it's still round, it's still blown up, and you still kick it. So it can't be too different.
Great question, Mike. I hadn't thought about that. All right, I got to ask this question now, Tennant. With every staff yellow card now counting against you, which assistant are you more worried about, Nathan or Josh getting you?
Well, definitely Nathan. No, this has been the running joke the last couple of years. It's like typically I've never been the best, and I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm getting older. The gray's coming into my beard a little bit more, so I hope that I'm settling down a little bit. But all three of us have the ability, to have a wobble at times. So I'm interested to see. I'm going to have to keep a tally. I'm not sure how I'm going to combat this, but if one of them gets a yellow card, they could owe me a couple of beers. We're going to have to work out some kind of system. Josh over at Afterglow is going to be getting a lot of custom from the two of them if it gets out of hand. We shall see. But my money, if I'm a betting man, Nathan Jones will probably be the problem.
Seeing as beers are now on the table, can this work both ways? What if you get a yellow card? Are we?
Well, you don't get to take them, but yeah, you know the drill.
All right, fellas. So if there's one game, if there's some fans out there that might be only be able to attend one game this season. If you had to circle one game on the calendar for them to attend, what would it be?
I think this is a good exercise for us all, to have a go here. It's really funny, all of us have, teams that we maybe not dislike or we enjoy playing against or whatever that might be. So I think we should go around the table here. I know what mine is. I'll let the boys go first. Josh, you can have yours.
I would say West Virginia. West Virginia at home, October 9th. That would be the one. I think, are we doing Pack the Park for that? I don't want to unofficially announce that. I don't know if that's going again, but either way, it's that's I coached in West Virginia. I think this is a completely different segue. I'm sure you get into another time, but Nathan and I played in the same conference and played against a few of the guys at that school. Our women's staff actually will also played against us, so that's for another time. But yeah, there's a little bit of something extra there when we play West Virginia. It's a team that we've come across and had tight games with in the last few years. So yeah, that would be my pick.
Nate?
Yeah, I think the Elon game for me, right? The first one at home, I think is really important, especially with that row of 5 games at home. We open the regular season at GW, but then we got 6 out of 7 at home. So kicking that Elon game off against a really good Elon team that, made the national tournament last year. If I'm right, I think they did make the national tournament, and that'll be a really good test of, where we're at, because they're always big, athletic, and always a very, very good college soccer team.
Coached. And then for me, we got to hit the Royal Rivalry already, a little bit later in the season, but, obviously an important game for us. A little bit disappointed that we didn't get all 3 points when we went up there last year. Don't like the color purple. It's around Halloween. We're at home. It's senior night. I just think that has become something for us on the calendar, in state, all of those things. It becomes important. So, I think for our local fans, there's a lot of JMU, grads around here, and people going to be coming out to support them. So we need to show them who's who, and really that night, get as many people out as we can to wear that, that navy and blue, and get after them.
That's homecoming weekend as well. So there
There
should
we
be a
go.
lot of Monarchs that are coming back to campus for the big game, and obviously for everything going on with homecoming festivities. So it could be a really fun weekend, watching some great soccer on Friday night, football on Saturday. Fun. I mean, just everything you want in a homecoming weekend.
Yeah.
Awesome. But hey, before we shut this thing down for this episode, Tennant, you were talking a lot. You guys all were actually talking about it a little earlier, with recruits kind of stepping off the plane or whatever, and seeing what you have going on, and kind of being wowed and compared to where they've been. If you had to pick one thing, you talked a little bit about the recovery room. Last year, we had opportunity to come in and see the space that you have for the players to be able to hang out with each other and to bond. The new athletic dining facility. What would be each of the three of you? What would be the if you've got a recruit who's watching this and hasn't been on campus in the last year or so to see you guys? What's the one thing that is going to really stand out to them?
I'm going to jump in because immediately it's dinner time. The boys are all there right now. I had to speak to some people yesterday. The athletic dining hall that we've put in is fantastic, second to none. And it's made such a difference for us, as a staff. You're worried about every young man is useless at cooking, and I don't want to stereotype there, but these guys are going home and, we don't know what they're buying. We don't know what they're cooking with. We don't know how clean it is. So there's always that worry. The dining hall is just taking all of those worries away for us. And the food that they're serving is fantastic. The athletes here on campus across the board are getting looked after, spectacularly. And it's just been such a great addition. To have that stand out, it's not something that other programs, in our mid-major level are offering, but it's just been such a blessing for our players, and for the athletes as a whole. So what a fantastic addition.
I'm going to jump in and cheat a little bit. I think by saying too, this building from someone who came into it obviously 2.5 years ago I think it's an immediate wow factor as a facility, especially what we've done to it. I think we sometimes forget until we go on the road to different places, just the locality or the closeness of everything for us and for our athletes in terms of our practice field being next to our game field with this facility between it, the recovery room. I think that's a huge, huge piece. There are programs that still have great facilities. They have to get on buses, vans, etc., whatever it might be, to get to the facilities that they use day in, day out. So the fact that this place is so accessible is a huge thing. But I am also going to reiterate what Tennant said about the dining hall, because Nathan and I do love the breakfast at the dining hall, and you can't bring up the dining hall without talking about Breakfast Club. So, again, it's been a huge addition for the playing staff, but also the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think, and then lastly for me is probably, I think the one that everyone doesn't talk about with Norfolk is the accessibility to the beach, right? I have a good friend on the Coastal Carolina staff, and in conference they're known as a beach college, right? Beach town. And I was doing the numbers. I was like, we have a beach 7 point something miles away. I was like, it's actually closer to the beach than it is to Myrtle Beach. And I think a lot of people forget that when thinking of Norfolk and the area. And our guys spend so much time at the beach. The Norfolk beaches, Virginia Beach, there. It's a huge plus. It's a huge selling point. Just the ability of it being so close and what they can do there. And yeah, a lifestyle off the field, right, is a big selling point for a lot of recruits and something that often gets overlooked with Norfolk.
Yeah, those all three of those are great, and I'm going to echo on that athletic dining hall because you guys were kind enough to invite Mike and myself out last year to have dinner with you and the fellows before the season started. It wasn't at the athletic dining facility. It was at what I think where everybody eats. And we had the privilege to stand in line and get what tacos were left at the place. And we've also had the privilege of being able to go check out the new facility. But Kieran took us over there, and man, it is outstanding. It really is. So I can see how that would be such a big jump for what you have for your guys.
And when you guys are free next week, dinner's on us. Come on by. Let us know.
Food twice for me and Mike.
I'm going to build off of what Nathan said. Since we have an Instagram account for the Monarchists, a lot of the athletes at Old Dominion follow us. So we see their pictures in our timeline. And the two things I see the most of is pictures at the beach and concert pictures. Lots of great concerts come to this area. I think it's a pretty great place for a college athlete to be in the summer because there's a lot going on. Because if you go to most college campuses where it's a college town, there's nothing going on in the summer.
Yep.
That is not a problem in Old Dominion.
Nope, not at all.
All right, fellas. Well, we cannot wait to see this team August 14th, Friday. against American at 4 p.m. Free for everybody. Come out and watch this team figure it out and start to build together.
We appreciate you guys having us on today. We're really looking forward to getting together all season, keeping everyone informed, and we appreciate everyone's support. So let's have a good one.
Awesome. We'll see you guys down the road real soon. And on that, we'll end. Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.